Okay, good morning, Rabbi. So let's begin. Let's continue the sugya of Melaben that we started yesterday so beautifully. Ephraim. So the Maisa Azoi. We said yesterday there are three parts to the cleaning situation. There's the shriya, right? There's the soaking, there's the scrubbing, and then there is the squeezing, right? Those are the three parts to Melaben. Those are also the three stages in every washing machine. Every washing machine has stage number one, the soaking zev, also has the shivshuf, the scrubbing, and number three has the squeezing out the liquid. We mentioned yesterday that all three parts are going to be asr on Shabbos Kodesh. Each of them are also because of Melaben, notwithstanding one to the other. That means I could do one without the other and I'm still over. So if I do, for example, the soaking without the scrubbing, or the scrubbing without the soaking, or the squeezing without the soaking, I'm over on either one. Eli, are you with me? Kavaldik. Now, Lemaisa like this. Let's begin. Yesterday we said a Gemara in Zvachim that Shriyasai Zehu Kibusa. I want to speak a bit about that because I think it's very, very negaya. I think it's something that unfortunately people just don't know, and it's almost like a second nature that when you have a stain or something, so immediately, you go to the faucet, you take some water and you scrub it off, right? So now we know. The Gemara tells us in Zvachim, Lalacha Lemaisa, we pass in this way. Shriyasai Zehu Kibusai. The shriya, the soaking of something, Zehu, this is Kibusai, this is the cleaning process. Because the very first thing that you do in a washing machine is soak the begodim, the garments, the clothing, so that will eventually get out the stain. Therefore, anytime you put liquid on a stain, on a fabric that absorbs, yesterday we said, if you have hard wood, very hard plastic, hard leather, plates, cups, silverware, all of these things are not subject to Melaben because they don't absorb. So therefore, to take a plate and put it under the faucet, under the tap, under the water, there's no problem with that. To make the table that's dirty after a kiddush and wipe it off, which we'll have to talk about, right? Obviously, you have to be careful for schita, right? But if you take, for example, some liquid and you pour it on, you schlep it out with some shmatters that are dry, there's no problem with that because there's no shriya, there's no absorption. I like that word, by the way. I just made it up. There's no absorption. It's not a word, right? Where are my English? Absorption, I said. No, I like this word. No, I think it's a good word. There's no absorption on a table. Okay? It's fine, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, moving on. Whoa. Okay. That means you are. Okay. Let's move on. So I'm going to say a kasha for the oilam, a simple kasha for the oilam. Okay? The oilam probably know the answer because we do this every week. And I'm going to ask the question. We have in many, many places, a good simon, by the way, of a chassidus shtibel is when you got the towel outside that you use for the shalashidas, right? It's normally not dry. So that will be a shayla of schita. We'll talk about it over here. But if you have a towel, that's why we have a towel. You said chassidus shiva. That's why we have a towel. So if you have a towel over here, I want to ask the oilam. When you wash your hands for the tilas yadayim, for bread, you have to wash. Yeah, you have to. Okay. Now we've established you have to wash. You wash your hands are wet. Now you dry them on a towel. Aaron Dov, what's the heta to wipe your hands on a towel which are wet with water, and you're going to make the towel wet? What happened to Shriyasai Zehu Kibusai?
We don't ask questions.
We don't know. I mean, as I fit the belt, the item does this, it must be okay. Everyone does it must be fine, right? The Rebbe did it. The taka was pshat. We don't ask questions. You're talking about that. It's a Moed Gazach, by the way. The Heilige Belzeruvs, one time by Seder night, so he decided that he's going to do everything he can to make sure that the kinderlich ask the kashas. And he was doing all interessante Sachen, interesting things that are not normally done. And he was waiting for the zine, for the son to say, Tati, what's pshat? What are you doing? What's going on? Gunish, not a word, not a question, nothing. The Belzer couldn't take it. Like, what's going on? At the end of the Seder Nacht, he said, Yingela, what's pshat? We didn't ask any questions. You didn't think that I was doing anything. He says, we don't ask kashas on the tata. And the tata does something, we don't ask kashas. No, Rabbi Sai, simple question. Eli, Menachem, what do we do? You take wet hands and you go on a towel. Everyone does this, right? So what's the Gemara says, you cannot take water or anything like that and get wet a material. By the way, it's not only taking your sleeve and putting it under the faucet, right, Michal? It could be even spritzing it. Balloon fights. Where is it? That's what I was looking for. Water balloon. I didn't say it. They didn't hear. Water balloon fights. Okay? That was good. Are you allowed to do that on Shabbos? Avada not, right? Of course not. What about walking around? Nobody would ever do this, right? You ever? These are like little kids do this, right? They take like water guns. Little kids do that. They take water guns and they go like, or they take hoses, right? You know, like Muslim, and they go, right? What happens? Are you allowed to do that on Shabbos Kodesh? Water guns, spritzing. Right? Yes. What? Yes.
Baby spritz is okay. Water.
If the baby spritzes, you're right. You don't have to take the baby. No, this I've done it. But an adult, Azaria, Avada it's also right. You're not allowed to do that because you're making a beged, a garment wet on Shabbos Kodesh. So, we're back to square one. Eli, what's the answer? Why are you allowed? If you are, I don't know. Maybe you're not allowed. I don't know, maybe Taka we're going to say it's Osa to now use a towel on Shabbos.
Paper towels on Shabbos.
No, whoa, I don't know if that, well, that makes that mutter. I don't know paper towels. I don't know. We have to get to a Moshe. We'll get to a Moshe soon. Nu Rabbi Sai, Simcha, what are you taina? What, is it mutter and why? Huh? It's a different use? That's very beautiful, but there's a situation that it's going to become wet. Zachariah, what do you say? Zev, what do you say about this?
Dirty water.
What?
Dirty water.
No, it's not. I'll just wash my hands. It's mutter. Asher Paskin, it's mutter. He's right. Well, now why? Okay, so I say, I want to tell the Olam a Tosfos in Shabbos, not Tosfos in Yevomis. Tosfos in Shabbos, Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. Look up the Tosfos, Gavaldik Tosfos, Halacha L'Maisa this Tosfos. This Tosfos is going to answer us the Shaila why it's mutter to use a towel on Shabbos Kodesh. Zuk the Heilige Tosfos, Rabbeinu Tam al V'Shitas Rabbi something called Derech Lichluch. Derech Lichluch is mutter, meaning if you're not taking clean water and cleaning the beged in a way that's going to make it cleaner, it's derech lichluch. Derech lichluch is mutter, and therefore that's why you're allowed to clean the towel, because mistoma on your hand there's a bit of dirt. Could be the water's clean, but on your hand there's probably some dirt. Right, you didn't exactly scrub it all off. You just wash naked until it's a dime. On your hand, there's probably some dirt, some sweat, whatever it may be. Remember, that goes on the towel. Once that goes on the towel, that's called derech lichluch. I'll give you another example, Rabbi Yisai. I'll give you another example. Let's say, Lo aleinu such a ma'aser. Rabbi Yisai, Rachmana litzlan, we should never know of such a thing. Lo aleinu, lo aleichem, we should never know. But Shabbos comes in and there's a sponge in the sink. Rachmana litzlan. Should never know such things. Okay? There's a in this door. It happened. There was a sponge in the sink. So what's my kasha? What's my kasha?
Pick up the sponge.
What's that? But without picking up. Muktzah, I don't want to get involved in Muktzah. I don't know Muktzah, I'm just talking about Melaben. What? Can you use the sink? When you switch on the tap, when you switch on the faucet, the water's going on either directly on the sponge, depending on where it is, or through the sink. Are you allowed to use that sink to wash your hands, wash the dishes, whatever it may be? What? What use? But Lamaisa, what Shviyasa Kibuso means that you are wetting something. Wetting a material is Asa Shalav Dorais, according to most Rishonim, Asa on Shabbos. What? I'm causing it to get wet when I open up the faucet and the water goes to it. Nothing I do about it, don't switch it on. Don't switch on the top.
Use a baby wipe to pick it up.
Oh, you still have to clean the dishes.
You're still traumatized from the baby wipes.
But you still have to clean the
So I'll tell you like this. It really depends. If the sink is dirty, which means that when the water goes on, there's dirt in the sink, which is often the case, and the dirt and the water together go to the sponge, that's called derech lichluch, that will be a problem. But if the sink is directly under the spout, under the faucet, under the stream of water, that will obviously be problematic. Or if the sink is clean, that will be problematic. So the Heiliger Rabbot over here said already in Eitz already before, and he said you could take out the sponge. I don't know Hilchos Moktzah, but I'm assuming what you could do is you could take 2 spoons or 2 forks. Obviously you're not going to touch it because the Klisha Machtel is so Shan Be'alocha over there, whatever. Because so you're going to pick it up with 2 forks and you're going to move it in that way because that's a shinoi. But otherwise that's a problem. Rabbi say, when you wash the tilis yadayim, do you have a chiyuv to lift up your sleeve all the way to make sure that you don't get any liquid, any water from, which is clean water, onto the beged, which would be a problem of shuriyasai, zehu kibusai. That is the shaila. So you should know that there are poskim that hold that you should be careful. You should be careful when you wash Netilas Yadayim, lift up your sleeves. Because if your sleeves are down in a way that is almost, by the way, if your sleeves are like this and you're not being Yaitz in Netilas Yadayim, right? Go have a look. Don't have it. Don't. I don't know if you should or you shouldn't. Right? But Lemaisa, if you go look at people who wash Netilas Yadayim, what happens? It's an amazing thing. Right? I've done it a few times over here, right? I don't even remember this. I've done it a few times over here. You watch the guy doing Netilas Yadayim and like, He's like, what? Huh? Hopefully he's not talking at that time because he thinks that you're allowed to talk, whatever, it's a different shaila. But let's say he does, right? He's like, you know, Yaitz and Netilas Yadayim. The Chazon Ish, by the way, Chazon Ish writes that he saw Choshev Talmidei Chachamim, that Poshet would never Yaitz and Netilas Yadayim. Right? You go watch, maybe don't watch, I don't know, I'm not sure if you should. There are a few things that you should or shouldn't see. One of them is the halachas of Payas. I don't know if you should go around looking. And the other one is Hilchas Mezuzah. So now the Shada Yeridei Simulation involved goes through all the shaylas of how high it has to be, right? Also, should you look, should you not look? Somebody knocked on my door. I don't have my name on my door. The Olam knows, right? I don't have my name on my door. So a guy knocked on my door one time. He says to me, I knew that you lived here. I said, what, you heard the noise? No. Actually, he didn't hear the noise. He said, I'll tell you why. Because it's the only one that the mezuzah is exactly on the right height. All the rest of them just put it on berach, around that height. Looks good for the pictures. Looks whatever it's. I've had a tape measure. Shach and Yeridei is simulation of Vav. Brings down halacha and Maisa. It's got to be the top shlish. It's got to be the bottom of the top shlish. Right, I'll show you. You're masking, right? But so let's move on. I know we got onto this. Let's move on. Where are we? Oh, so the Netilas Yadayim. You see guys, they wash the Netilas Yadayim, yeah? And you could go touch that, it's completely dry. Oh yeah. Pasha not Yaitza. Like, well, it's not Netilas Yadayim. Netilas Yadayim is all the way until the wrist. Right? It is, right? So you gotta twist. Oh, Shmuel. Shmuel over here says you gotta twist the hand, Mayudik. Unbelievable. I'm getting into Rabbi said, let's move on. This is not Hilchos Netilas Yadayim. So, Bekitza, if you have your sleeve over there, you got to be careful. Lift up your sleeve in a way that it's not clear that it's going to happen, and therefore that will be okay. Now, by the way, whenever the liquid is not a clean liquid, there is no problem with Shuras Zeu Kabusa. So, for example, if Coca-Cola or orange juice or wine or something, whatever like that, spills on the floor or spills on the table, you could take a shmata and wipe it up, obviously being careful of Hilchas Chita because obviously you can't squeeze, but if you have a big enough shmata, big enough towel to wipe up a small little spill, that's not going to be a problem. But if it's derech lichluch, right, then it's no problem whatsoever. Now, Boy said there's many other different shilas that we have to get to, which are very, very common on Shabbos Kodesh when things spill, someone throws up. What's the din in such a case? Are you allowed to, wipe it up? Are you allowed to do all those sorts of things? Mitzvah Shem Rabbi say tomorrow, b'siyata d'shmaya, we shall continue the share. Have a wonderful and beautiful day.
Rumor has it 9 people were killed in